Welcome to Cardboard Conjecture. We're a podcast about board games where we have opinions and conclusions formed on the basis of incomplete information. This episode of Cardboard Conjecture is brought to you by these great Saskatoon businesses: Amazing Stories Comics on 8th Street, Dragon's Den Games on 8th Street, and Breakout Escape Rooms on Faithful Avenue. How's it going, eh? This is What You've Been Playing Wednesday, and this is a special weekly episode where a bunch of us content creators take some time and talk about the games we've been playing recently. And on this episode are that Tabletop Bellhop, Dice and Dragons, the Omni Gamers Club, the Meeple Dungeon, the Rat Hole, and Cardboard Conjecture. And if you have a moment, please check out the show notes for the links to the What You've Been Playing Wednesday cast. Go grab yourself something to drink, a little snack, and sit back and hear what we have to say.
Hello and welcome to the Tabletop Bellhop segment of What You've Been Playing Wednesday. I am Moe T, the Tabletop Bellhop, your cardboard concierge, answering your gaming and game night questions and striving to make everyone's gaming experience better. If you've got a gaming or game night question for me, send it to questions@tabletopbellhop.com, visit our webpage and click on Ask the Bellhop, or hit me up on social media where I can be found everywhere as Tabletop Bellhop, one word. Now, the question I'm answering today is, of course, what you've been playing this past week. But first off, I want to say it's glad to be back as a contributor on What You've Been Playing Wednesday. We had a lot going on the last couple weeks and didn't really get any gaming in. Now, we did make up for it last week, though, with lots of gaming, starting with Aquilin, a 2-player abstract strategy game that my wife gave me as a gift, but that has actually gotten more plays by her and my oldest daughter. This is one of those simple-to-learn, difficult-to-master abstract strategy games that we actually reviewed as part of last week's podcast. You can also find that review on YouTube and a written version on the blog if you care to learn more about Aquilin. Now, the next thing to hit our table was Chronicles of Avel. This is a cooperative fantasy kids game from Rebel Studios that we've been really enjoying, and that I will be reviewing on tonight's live show, which you can catch on Twitch. twitch.tv/tabletopbellhop, tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern. Now, up to this point, we've been playing Avel with the kids, and I decided, for the sake of the review, to try it out with Tori and Kat, and see if a group of 4 adults would enjoy the game, and I'm pleased to say we did. Tori was particularly smitten with it, and was very disappointed it's not available in North America yet, or he would have bought a copy online on the spot. Next up was Lost Ruins of Arnak, which actually I played 3 times over the last week. 2 physical games, 1 2-player and 1 4-player, and 1 digital game on Board Game Arena with 3 players. Now, so far we've been loving this game, and these last few plays we got to try out some new things, which was first time playing with 4 players, which I gotta say worked great, had no complaints about playing with 4, and trying out the Snake Temple side of the board, which I think I prefer to the original, though we've only given it 1 shot so far. To me, it felt more balanced, and our scores were more grouped at the end. We didn't seem to have any runaway leader problems, which I have found with the other side of the board, especially playing 2-player. So far, so good for Arnak. Now, after finishing a 4-player game of Arnak with Tori and Kat, we finally cracked open Charterstone from Stonemaier Games. This was our first time playing it, and we played through just the first game of the campaign. Now, that was an interesting experience, as none of us really knew what to expect, and I've got to say, it doesn't do a lot to guide you at the beginning of Charterstone. It kind of just throws you in the water and lets you see if you sink or swim. Now, we're playing this with the same group we had when we played through Pandemic Legacy, so none of us are new to Legacy games, but this one is quite different. All I knew about this game going in is that it had a worker placement element and it was a Legacy-style game. Now, what I think will be interesting is that Deanna, my wife, didn't actually open a crate in our first game. And I'm wondering how that's going to impact things going forward, because the rest of us did. I am looking forward to more plays with Tori and Kat of that, hopefully getting in another game this Friday. Next, we come to Saturday night, where my wife and I had a date night gaming night, and we tried out Quacks of Quedlinburg with the Herb Witches expansion for the first time. Now, I got this expansion for Christmas, and it's taken until now to get it to the table, but we were not disappointed by it at all. I love everything about this expansion, and more importantly to us, my wife felt it greatly improved the game, including many ways to mitigate some of the randomness in Quacks of Quedlinburg. Now, I really look forward to trying this one with more players, especially since the expansion bumps the player count up to 5, as well as exploring more mixes of ingredients, because so far we played twice, and we tried the new ingredient recipe books, and then we tried the other side. So we've tried all the new stuff, but I want to see how they mix with the other ingredients. Now, Saturday night also saw a return of Codenames Duet to the table. This is one of our favorite date night games, and we played multiple rounds while enjoying some craft beer. Now, Sunday, we visited Deanna's mom and sister and had some amazing pulled pork, and then played a game of Imperial Settlers. Now, Imperial Settlers is an older game that I only recently rediscovered and have been really enjoying. It's a card-driven civ-building game with highly asymmetric factions. Now, one of my reasons for playing Imperial Settlers lately is due to the fact I have an expansion on my pile of shame, the Atlanteans or Atlantis expansion, and I needed to refamiliarize myself with the game before cracking that open, and it's been a joy rediscovering this one. As for this Sunday, it was a hit with the entire family, though I will say I was a bit surprised by how much longer a 4-player game was to the 2-player games Deanna and I have been playing. Now, my last gameplay this week was another game of Chronicles of Avel. This was on Family Day with both kids, my wife and I. The whole family sat down to play. Now, this time I added in the Adventurer's Toolkit expansion and the Hero's Treasure promo items, and I think both are fantastic additions to the game. Now, due to the way you pull items blindly from a bag to get equipment in here, where you're only using your sense of touch to try to pull out the item you want, and sometimes you get the wrong thing, I think any expansion or promo or anything produced for this game that adds more to the bag just makes the game more fascinating and more interesting. And both of these expansions add more things to pull. Boots from the one expansion, and then 3 unique smaller items with the promos. We also got to check out some of the other new rules, including the ballistas, which we thought were really useful, but man, we had terrible aim because our shots missed almost the entire game, and the rules for familiars, which we got to see the bear and the fox in play during this last game. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be reviewing this one tonight, so tune in live tonight, or watch for our podcast to hit on Tuesday, or watch YouTube and the blog for reviews to go up there, because this is honestly one of the best cooperative kids games I've played, and I'm looking forward to sharing more about it. Now, that's it for the games I've been playing lately. Before I go, a reminder to visit tabletopbellhop.com. Join us Wednesdays on Twitch at 9 p.m. Eastern, where we record the Tabletop Bellhop Gaming Podcast, which you can find on your podcatcher of choice if you can't join us live. For the Tabletop Bellhop Gaming Podcast, I am Moe T, the Tabletop Bellhop. Good day, and game on.
What up, gamers? I'm Jayson.
I'm Julie, and together we're Dice and Dragons, and you can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram at Dice and Dragons, and on Twitter at Dice and Dragon.
And today, what is it, Julie?
It's What You've Been Playing Wednesdays.
And what have we been playing over the last couple of nights?
Uprising, the Curse of the Last Emperor.
Yes, this is published by Nemesis Games, designed by Cornelius Kremen. I know I'm going to massacre this again. Pavel Mazer and Dirk Summer. I swear I'm going to get this right when we finally do our review.
Isn't it Mazur?
Oh, see, you're already doing better than I am. Now, this is a cooperative 4X game for 1 to 4 players and plays in 120 to 240 minutes, depending on the amount of chapters that you're going to be playing in the game. At this point in time, I think we've wrapped up 2 games of this. We played a short game. We're in the process of completing our second game, which isn't going very well, and I think we're pretty much going to call it just because of the situation we're in. So, Julie, what do you think about this game? And I think you've got a lot of thoughts, and if I'm not mistaken, both of us love it and hate it a little bit at the same time.
Yeah, well, there's some good things about it. I mean, I like its table presence. It is a huge game, though. I keep thinking every time we look at it, it's a good thing it's on a on a game table, because I can't imagine leaving it on another table. It would take up a whole entire table, and it's not a short game.
No, it does take a long time to play, and being at that stage that we are at with our little guy right now, I'm not liking that as much as I thought it would. I can appreciate the mechanics, the table presence, the amount of space that it takes up, but man, I mean, it's even using the extra sides of our table vault.
Yeah, so I mean, I like the acrylic standees, and I like the colored dice. I like that, and the quality of the card stock and the cards. It's a good quality game.
I gotta disagree with you there. Card stock I like. Finish on the cards, I hate it. It's awful to shuffle. I don't know what they were thinking.
But I mean from a quality perspective.
Yes, in terms of being thick, hard to damage, good quality, the finish is god-awful.
That being said, I've had some fun playing the game, and then other times I am incredibly frustrated with it and kind of just want to get up and walk away. So I have to say it's kind of I can't even say it's a love-hate, it's a like-hate. Which is unfortunate for it, because if I loved it and I hated it, I might still want to play it. But right now, I'm not so sure about it. I honestly, unfortunately, I think I'm more disappointed with the combat and the lack of balance. I mean, we've only played it at 2 players, and I think that's a real problem. But I think games that don't play well at 2 players kind of just frustrate me.
Yes, especially with this being a 2-player game. Now, if you look at Board Game Geek, it is recommended at 3 players. And one of the things that does happen in the game is that later on in the game, there will be more enemies that spawn at higher player counts, with less at lower player counts. What that means is you can have I think a good time playing a 2-chapter game of this, depending on the cards that you get. But there is no specific rules besides setup in terms of what is going to be coming out with regards to a 2-player game, meaning you can get a lot of legions, a lot of hordes coming out right away, and that's just the hand that you're dealt. So reading another review on Board Game Geek, it did say that the game can be randomly atrociously hard, and I have to stand by that. The game, like, bad rolls can completely throw you for a loop. I mean, just for fun, I rolled badly. I got wiped out. I picked up the dice, rolled it again, and it was at the point where I would have annihilated one of the hordes, and we would have been in a much better position for going into this this third round of the game. Because during the game, you cannot build units, meaning you lose units, they're gone. You're going to potentially not wipe out the hordes and legions, which are the big bads for the 2 enemy factions, and they're going to just get stronger. Now, they are enemies of each other as well, and I do think in some cases we haven't necessarily been placing skeletons and other things that could be a hindrance to the Empire and maybe getting them to fight each other and weaken each other. So that's definitely something that I want to take into consideration. But as you mentioned with the combat, throwing the dice and coming up Bucholtz and not being able to retreat or have dice mitigation options, or very few, is really, really annoying. It reminds me a lot of Kick-Ass. I remember the time that you took like 12 dice in that game. You rolled every single dice and everything was blank. You just looked at me and said, I'm so done with this. We finished the game, but you told me you were never playing it again, and you never did.
Yeah, well, and I had a couple of really good or really decent rolls, and I'm like, yeah, this isn't so bad. But I think the biggest issue I have is that in order to have any chance of defeating the villains, you have to basically have near perfect rolls, and that doesn't happen very often.
It's not necessarily near perfect rolls, or you're both rolling really mediocre, and eventually you come out ahead.
Yeah, but I mean, if there was a way to mitigate a bad roll, or like you said, if I can accept having really bad rolls and losing all your men, all your warriors, if you can rebuild them. I mean, if a round completely goes to, I was gonna say, just goes the wrong way because you lose all your men, it's frustrating. There's not like there's that many rounds. I mean, on the long game has 4 rounds, but there's a lot of actions, and I was like, well, what do you mean? I got more resources. Why can't I build more men? To me, that just, especially since I just lost all my warriors. I mean, I guess it represents a little bit the reality of life, where you can't just get soldiers and warriors back on the field immediately. But that being said, it just frustrated me. And you know what? It's one of these games I'm looking forward to getting off the table so that we can put something else on the table.
So yeah, I mean, I think those are our thoughts on the game. We're going to take a look at where we're at, and I don't know if we're going to continue this current game or if we're going to give it a try at 4 players. Just to clarify what we think maybe with a lack of balance is that at 4 players, there's a bigger map, but the setup is the same and the enemy spawns are the same until the later game. Meaning that at the start, if you get a nice placement, you get some good rolls, you can have a lot more presence and also be better positioned to bounce back from a failure, because if one faction doesn't succeed defeating this horde, well, guess what? You might have some backup in terms of someone else being able to come in and mop up. So that's where we're at on the game. I would not expect our review this week. We want to spend a little bit more time with it as we're probably about 4 or 5 hours in so far, but really not sure how we're going to grade this. But I can safely say that I'm not sure this one is going to last in the collection. Doesn't mean it's necessarily a bad game, just not for us, especially not right now.
So, on that note, it's time to remind everybody to
keep playing games.
Hello, this is Daniel from the Omni Gamers Club podcast, or you may know me from my solo content at Board Game Feast, where I create board game themed treats. Now, it's been a while since I've been on Whatcha been playing Wednesdays. Unfortunately, my game room has been pretty quiet lately through the holidays and a couple of illnesses. But with this last long weekend, I was finally open to reopen my game room, have a couple of friends over, as I hope were a lot of you as well. Now, my podcast co-host Mark won't be able to join me today, but we did just release our latest episode on a bit of a retrospective of the Race for the Galaxy series, the cardboard universe, as it were, the Roll for the Galaxy and New Frontiers as well, and contrasting all of those games. So I've obviously been playing a lot of those, but other than that, this last games day, I managed to pull a couple of things off my shelf of shame. We started with one of my most recent acquisitions, that is Public Market. That is designed by the development team most known for their work over at Flat Out Studios. That is Molly, Sean, and Robert. That's a fun little polynomial puzzle, filling up your icebox with fish and then selling them to fulfill some contracts. But what I really want to talk about today is a game that I bought right as the lockdown began, and I was full of optimism that it would all blow over soon, is Forgotten Waters, designed by Isaac Vega and published by Plaid Hat Games. Now, this is technically part of the Crossroads series. Previously, you had Dead of Winter and I think Gen 7. But this is really much more of a story-focused game, lot less rules overhead than, say, Dead of Winter. Has more in common with something like Tales of Arabian Nights. It's really just a booklet of events with sort of choose-your-own-adventure exploration. This is a cooperative game, though, with some pressure to jostle for turn order to get your first preference, but without any sort of direct betrayal like you'd had in Dead of Winter. Now, you're going to be creating a pirate with one of a dozen or so archetypes. They each have a sort of a constellation guiding their skill upgrades and some story beats, and you'll basically provide some Mad Lib style story prompts that will generate your backstory as you go along and unlock some new skills. You'll have a map that you're exploring with your ship, and as you visit new locations, that might prompt some story beats with fully voiced story, I might say, that's very well performed with a very diverse and talented voice cast. And it'll give you some kind of option based on who has the highest brawn or navigation skill, for example, that might gain or lose you some supplies. And you're keeping track of all of those stats with your supplies, your hull, your crew, with various trackers, each player being responsible for one or two different roles, depending on how many you have. And then you might get to a town or an event like attacking another ship, and you open up this big story booklet with this beautiful full-page art and basically a list of possible locations or actions that you can take, whether it's going to the market or going to the tavern to try and shake down some money, or going to the blacksmith to upgrade your weapons, or performing maintenance on the ship, and you'll basically in turn order be choosing a priority here. It's sort of very basic worker placement, and then generating some more stories for your personal character that might have a story beat or a skill upgrade. Some very basic tests with some dice rolling. And it's very light on the actual role playing. There's no sort of improvisation for your character required, but it does encourage sort of very much emergent storytelling, and with lots of prompts for playing along with whatever events may come up. Now, we only played the first half or so of the first mission, but it does provide a solid sort of point at which you can basically save the game and come back to it later. So I'm really looking forward to revisiting that soon. It has really strong writing and voice acting. I laughed out loud quite a few times. Or if you and your friends want to go full pirate mode yourself, you can read out all the text yourself. Through the app, there looks to be a huge breadth of story beats and possible events that might come up. So hoping to sail the high seas again soon. I should say we kept the nautical theme going for lunch, and we had some lovely Bassa fish burgers to go with that, with some homemade tartare sauce, because I just can't help leaning into the thematic elements. So you can catch our latest episode of our podcast, which should be coming out the same day as this podcast. That is on Race for the Galaxy, Roll for the Galaxy, and New Frontiers. I'm also doing some streams, sort of Let's Plays for some of the games we're covering on the podcast over at Twitch under my personal account, Board Game Feast. You can also find me, Mark, and the podcast over on Twitter. And remember to have a balanced gaming diet.
Hello everybody, it's Rob and Anna Marie from the Meeple Dungeon.
Hello.
And we are back again recording for Whatcha Been Playing Wednesday's podcast. We have one game to talk about this week. What game is that, Anna Marie?
That game is Schotten Totten, designed by Rainer Knizia, art by Jib, and published by Yellow.
Art by Jib?
DJIB, Jib.
I see that.
I believe it's like gin, like a...
DJIB, Jib.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool name.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting. Schotten Totten. This is a game that we saw on a lot of like top hundreds lists, I believe, of several people in the industry, and was a game that we'd been searching for quite a while.
I'd seen Schotten Totten 2 quite a bit in and around, and yeah.
But this was Schotten Totten, the original.
Yeah.
And you found it overseas.
Yeah, when I was making another purchase, I was like, ooh.
You threw it into
I just checked, and they happened to have it. So I was like, well, why not? Yeah. It's already coming over.
Yeah, so Schotten Totten is a card game. We've played a few games of it, and it's all it is a deck of cards and 9 tiles.
Yes.
And the deck of cards is made up of 6 colors from 1 to 9 each.
Yes.
And there are 9 tiles with stones on it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Did you want to read the little blurb it has?
Yeah, I will, because it's kind of cute.
It is, yeah, exactly.
A warm breeze flows through the Scottish valley as the birds begin to sing and the snow slowly melts away. Your precious village is slowly uncovered, and the stones that define your territory begin poking through. The earth is soft, and the stones could easily roll just a bit into your neighbor's village, granting you the extra space your clan needs. After all, no one will notice, right? Suddenly, an arrow whizzes past your ear. It seems that your neighbor had the same idea and is now pushing stones to enlarge his territory. Use your cards to create the best battle formations and defend your village. Claim enough stones to win the game.
Yeah. So how are we winning these stones? So what you do is that the stones are on 9 cardboard tiles, and you lay them out in a line across the table, and I'm on one side of them and you're on the other side.
You got it.
And then we shuffle up the deck of cards, and that is 6 colors, 1 to 9.
So like 6 suits, 1 to 9 each suit. Each
we
suit
shuffle
is a
those
color.
up and we deal each other 6 cards.
Yes.
And what you're trying to do is you're trying to outpace or outsmart or outplay your opponent for these stones. And you're trying to win 5 of the 9 stones at least, or 3 side by side.
Yeah, so you're basically 5 along anywhere along that border, anywhere along the wall, or 3 side by side.
Yeah. And in order to win those stones, you're playing 1 card at a time and then you're drawing a card. So
Yeah.
you can win these stones by having, you're only playing 3
It's
cards
combinations
per
of
stone.
3. Yeah.
Yeah. So in order to win the stone, you can do several different things. You can have a color run. So like a 3, 4, 5 of blue will be really good. That's like a color run is the highest scoring type of.
Yeah, it'll trump anything.
Yeah, a set of 3 that you can do. And if I have a 3, 4, 5 of blue, but you have a 5, 6, 7 of
Another
yellow,
color,
you're
would
going to
win.
take that stone.
Yeah.
And then you can have 3 of a kind.
Yep.
So like 6 or like 7, 7, 7. And then you could have color. So just 7, 9, 2 of red would be the 3rd highest scoring. Then you can just have a straight run of 1, 2, 3 of any color.
Yeah, it could be like
Yep.
all three different colors for it. It wouldn't
And then
matter.
if you have some random combination like a 9, 7, and 3 of all 3 different colors, it's just the sum.
Just add 'em
But
all
that'd be
up.
the lowest scoring combination you can have. And it's simple as that. On your turn, you're just playing a card and drawing a card.
Yeah, and it's neat because you can't just say, okay, I've now got a 3, 4, 5 blue, I'm going to take the tile. You have to actually wait until the other player has their 3 cards out, or unless you can mathematically prove that
Right. But
there's no better combination.
Yeah.
That
But
gets-
early on, that's not
Yeah,
happening.
because there's so many cards in the deck, you can't guarantee that.
Yeah, so
you know.
generally you're just waiting for me to have my 3 cards down and you to have your 3 cards down, and we compare who has the better hand.
Yeah.
And whoever has the better hand wins the stone.
It is tough.
It is very
Oh
tough.
my
And
goodness.
the further you go along, it gets harder and harder, and you're analyzing what cards they've played and what cards you have in your hand and what they might have in their hand
Oh,
versus
yeah.
how many cards are left in the deck.
Yeah.
Super neat.
You start playing down cards and you're like, this is awesome. I'm going to get, I'm going to get 3 different color runs, and you start laying them down. And then all of a sudden, your opponent plays the card that you need. And you're like,
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
no. And then that whole, like, you have your 5, 6 of red, and you're like, all I need is that
4 or 7.
4 or 7, and then you see that I played a 4 over there, and then you haven't seen the 7 yet, and you don't know if I have it in my hand or if it's in the pile.
Meanwhile, I have to try to figure out what I'm going to place on the other rocks or the other stones to try to make piles, hoping that I get that 7.
Yeah, it's an interesting game. It's way more interesting than I would have thought.
Yeah.
I knew people liked it, but I didn't really understand what it was until we started playing it. And it's super simple. And there is... So that's the game. That's as simple as it is. You're trying to win these 5 stones, or 3 in a row, 3 side-by-side stones, and you can win. But that's it. And it's just my 3 cards versus your 3 cards. But there are other variants to this game within the box, and there's cards that you can add into this with special powers.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't tried those yet because it's recommended to play the base game.
And I'm having fun with the base game right now.
Yeah, good that way. I like how pure it is about just the hands of 3, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what all these extra cards do. It looks like there's some witches and barbarians and
Yeah,
things.
they got some crazy iconography on there, whereas the rest of the game has none. So it definitely looks like it'll be interesting, but I'm just really enjoying this part of Shot and
for
Totten
sure.
right now, so I'm going to keep playing that out. And yeah,
it's a great game. It's not expensive. It's really good quality. The artwork is
the
awesome.
artwork is very cool.
The
I
name
love
is
it.
fun
Yeah,
to say.
it is
Shot
fun.
and Totten.
Yeah, they say 20 minutes, and I'd say that's your...
That's it. That's bang
That's
on. I think
max.
we are in the 10 to 15 for a game.
They put the 20 minutes there because the IP is going to sit in, or the AP.
AP, yeah.
Like, where am I going to put this? And you just got to say, forget it. It's not going to matter.
That's the
Then
thing.
you
yeah.
put it down.
Just play it and then see what happens. And then before you know it, you're playing another game. Anyway.
Yeah. It's a ton of fun, this
It is
game.
good. It's a lot better than anticipated. So
I imagine Shot and Totten 2 is probably fairly similar.
I'm curious what the difference is.
I don't know.
But no, it's good. Really good. Solid little card game.
Yeah.
Recommend it. But I think that's it for this week. So you can find us on Twitter and YouTube and our own podcast that is being uploaded weekly.
The Meeple Dungeon.
And yeah, you can find it on all the podcasting sites. We just uploaded our 26th episode where we talked about Steam Watchers for Mythic Games. So yeah, go check that out. We'll see you next week. Cheers.
See ya.
What's up, Internet? My name is Paparazzo Dave Chapman. I'm the lead reviewer for the rathole.ca, a co-host on The Legend of the Traveling TARDIS, and I'm super excited to be back on Whatcha Been Playing Wednesday. It's been a crazy busy few weeks as convention season is creeping up ever so quickly on us, but I still managed to get a few great games in. The big one is I've been playing a ton of Blinks games by Move 38, specifically Tangle and Mimic. These are two of their newest games. They're part of the new Party Pack expansion that went live yesterday, assuming you're listening to this podcast the day it dropped, which of course you are, right? Anyways, if you've never heard of Blinks, these are smallish hex-shaped devices that have 6 multicolor LED lights and an internal clickable button. Here's the really cool part, though. Each individual Blink has a permanently programmed game on it, which can then teach any other Blinks that they are connected to. So with Tangle, for example, I would turn on all of my Blinks, create a really tight cluster of them. I set the Tangle Blink to teach mode, add it to the rest of the Blinks, and the game is taught to all of those other components. Once the game is loaded, you select the game mode. Most commonly in this case, each player chooses a specific color. Next, you select a player count, 2 to 6, with colors being added as needed. When you start the game, all your Blinks go dark for 3 seconds and then light up in a random pattern. You'll frantically click anything in front of you that's showing your color, which will then make it another player's color, while they do the same thing for all of their colors. After 17 to 23 seconds, and I don't really know how that's determined, Blinks all go dark again, and then display the final board state, count up how many of your color and everyone else's color is showing. Whoever has the least showing wins. You can play the game as one-off or elimination style. So maybe you're done with that game, and so you grab the Flick-Flop Blink. You set it to teaching mode, connect it to the other Blinks, and suddenly you've got a dexterity game that's a bit like curling, but instead of just hitting your target, you need to hit it when that target is showing the same color that you are playing, or you're giving points to your opponent. Including the party games, Movie 38 has 40 games released for this system, and everything is open source, so anybody can design more games to play with them. They're absolutely fabulous. I love them to death. I don't think I gave them nearly enough credit, or it doesn't seem like I gave them enough credit in my recent Kickstarter reviews of this. But please, they are great. Yeah. I also need to give an honorable mention here. I've only had a chance to record a short unboxing on this one, but it really amuses me that the next package I received after Blinks was the new Gale Force 9 game, Doctor Who, Don't Blink. I won't get to play it before I leave for Dice Tower West and Gamma, but I'm going to leave it in the hands of one of the other contributors to this very same podcast, so you may actually hear more about it soon. I also got to play some older games, starting with Azul. Believe it or not, this was my first time playing Azul, and I have to add my thumbs up to the continuing hype for this game. It's a beautiful tile-based tableau builder. There's a metric ton of Azul content out there, so all I'm going to say is that if you haven't played it, go play it. And the last game I want to talk about is one of my absolute favorites, Dragoon by Lay Waste Games. It's a bit challenging to find this game in Canada because most of the editions of the game come with solid metal components, which obviously makes it kind of pricey to ship. In Dragoon, you are a dragon trying to exert control over the local villages and cities, hoarding their golden tributes to you, and occasionally getting into fisticuffs with other dragons. Wait, do dragons have fists? You know what I mean. Whether you get the solid metal gold edition or the somewhat newer standard edition with components that are made of plastic, All of the components are absolutely gorgeous. Nick Nazzaro's artwork is absolutely stunning as always. The gameplay is simple but still exciting. I've raved about this game since the first time I saw it years ago at Gen Con, and it continues to be one of my favorites. The expansions are every bit as beautiful and fun. I can't say enough about this game. As I said, it's one of my favorites. It always, I think, will be. So definitely check it out if you ever get the opportunity. TheRatHole.ca puts out primarily written content with the occasional video review and interviews, as well as a weekly miniatures painting series, Slinging Paint. You can find our YouTube channel and all of our social medias at Linktree, that's linktr.ee/TheRatHole.ca. Thank you for listening, and until next time, good gaming and goodbye.
Hey everybody, this is Norm from the Cardboard Conjecture podcast and Bridge City Board Gamers here in Saskatoon. And let's see what the community has been playing. So, what you been playing, Bridge City Board Gamers? Jayson, we played Power Grid, Micro Macro Crime City, and Role Player this week. Right on. Power Grid, Friedman Freeze. You know what? I'm ashamed. I used to own this game, played it a couple times. I don't think the gaming group dug it, and so I sold it. But I keep seeing it pop up again. I might have to do some more homework on it again. And Role Player, I'm not a big. I've played Sagrada. I enjoyed it, but Role Player put a theme on it, and it's like your typical high fantasy adventure kind of thing. And I dug it. So moving on, Eli. Tapestry, Cascadia, Dixit, and That Time You Killed Me. Tapestry, Stonemaier Games. I played it a couple times. I enjoyed it. It was cool. I think the thing people were expecting, like a civilization building game, like the Sid Meier kind of thing, and that's not what it is. It's a Euro. It's a kind of cool game. Cascadia. I adore Cascadia. What a fantastic game. And Dixit, probably one of my favorite go-to party games because very easy rule set, very easy to understand, and such table engagement. Fantastic. That Time You Killed Me, I have not played that yet. I've heard a lot of people talk about it, though. So, yeah, right on. Moving on. Hans. I'd be surprised if there wasn't Terraforming Mars. Right on. Mountain Goats. I've not played that game yet. I've got to read it. I've not done my homework on that either, but I've heard it. Kotl, King Domino, Noctulica, Welcome to the Moon, Harmonia, and Karuba. And Terraforming Mars. A lot of people love that engine building game. Right on. Mountain Ghost, like I said, no, I've not played it. King Domino, yes, everybody knows dominoes and everybody knows Little Kingdoms, and it is such a fun game. It works for kids, it works for adults. It's a cool puzzle. It's one of those games that's easy to play and takes some time to master. So yeah, and Welcome to the Moon is a riff off of Welcome to, which is the neighborhood builder. And I'm just going to, extrapolate that you're doing it on the moon now. So, yeah, cool. Let's move on here. We've got Ryan, Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion, Draftosaurus. Right on. Yeah, Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion. I'm pushing my way through, just about done the I think it's like 25 scenario campaign. And I'm having so much fun. That's such a good game. Matt be playing. Well, Matt played some poker. Augustus, and then poker, and Stone Age, and Tinner's Trail, and Mystic Vale. Augustus, I believe, I've not played it. I've seen it played. It's got the bingo mechanism. And that one seems like a lot of fun. I like that antiquity thematic games. Poker, there's no theme. Stone Age, yeah. That was my first presence to a worker placement system. I liked it, but it has dice that hate me, and yeah. So Tinner's Trail, Martin Wallace, love me some Martin Wallace, and Tinner's Trail is I'm enjoying that game now. Again, a little bit of confirmation bias. I kickstarted it, so there's part of my everybody who kickstarts a game is battling with their ego when they play the game and it's not what they expected it to be, but they don't want to admit that it misfired. So moving on, Travis tried out Trismegistus last night. Very cool and different game. However, you can get ridiculous chains going that naturally cause a player's turn to drag on. I think in person this would be mitigated, but online I just get impatient waiting. Ha ha ha. Otherwise, cool game that I don't think I'll ever be good at since it doesn't fit my play style, but would try again. Did some solo Imperial Classics. I want to play that game. Yeah, cool concept. Had the right idea, but I think it just falls short for me. It will always be there if I want a casual solo game, though. That's a very objective look at those two games. Yeah. Trismegistus. I just know the name and how difficult it is to say. I have outside of that, no idea. Kafir. I'm so sorry if I've mispronounced your name. Played Corrosion last week. That was it. It was meh. Sold it promptly after. Okay, cool. You know what? That's the cool thing about board games. It's like music. Some people like certain music, some people don't like certain music, and that's okay. Corrosion engine building game. I like engine building. I have this game. I enjoyed it. I do enjoy it. Now I play it solo, and I'd love to see what this game's like with a table full. Now, I can probably see what you're saying about this one because it just gets into, it's probably why I don't like Splendor, because Splendor is just like one move, right? I mean, it's just this one thing you're trying to master. So I get it. Lane played some Zombie Kids in Sagrada. And you know what? I guess he's playing with his kids because Zombie Kids, it's a kids game. And it's a great kids game too, by Canadian publisher Scorpion Masqué. Cool. Scott, several games of Marvel Champions this week, both 2-player and 4-player, when continuing a run through the Mad Titans Shadow campaign, as well as plays of 3-player Lisboa and 4-player Azul. And lastly, the continuation of our D&D campaign, which is such great fun. Yeah, gonna reinforce that one. So let's go back up. Marvel Champions. Yes, if you like that theme or that IP, this is you being the superheroes rather than the legacy, the Upper Deck version where you're kind of managing a team. And the Mad Titans Shadow campaign. Started doing the Red Skull campaign. And you know what? I should get back to that and put it up on the Cardboard Conjecture YouTube channel. Lisboa. Oh, Vital. I love me some Vital. And lastly, D&D campaign. Yay! Love collaborative storytelling. This is the penultimate storytelling narrative game. And just a heads up, in the works, we've got myself, my gaming group, and the Eric and Phaedra from Bard Quest Empire. We're going to collaborate and co-produce the King's Court, a tournament of champions, where it is a last champion standing kind of battle. So yeah, we'll keep you posted on that. Jonathan, looks like Jonathan played some Robinson Crusoe. Yeah, and it's Crusoe, not Caruso. All right, that's my eye twitch pet peeve. That's such a good game. Portal, well, that's well done. This is one of those games where the system is so developed that you could. It's got such an architecture to it that you could put scenarios into it and have a different complete story, much like Lucky Duck Games is doing with their QR code app structure that they've built. In this case, Portal has built a beautiful card structure, and they both work much in the same way, different media, right? So yeah, Jonathan played a solo game of Robinson Crusoe. Yeah, like you see there, messed up, very angry sea lion. Cool. Dangerous. Grant been playing some solo Tiny Epic Galaxies. And Kelly, we forgot to chime in. We had played a while, did some Happy Little Dinosaurs, and Princess Bride board game. Inconceivable. So there you go. That's what the Bridge City Board Gamers community has been playing. Well, if you were to ask me, Norm, what you been playing, my answer would be our Wednesday night Gamers Garage played Gaia Project, designed by Jens Trollmuller and Helg Ostertag, and it's published by Fuhrland Spiel and here in North America, Capstone Games. Capstone Games, take a victory lap. You guys are doing fantastic work these last few years. Gaia Project, as people would say, Terra Mystica in space. With some, a lot of people say it's revamping or fine-tuning of the rules. I used to own Terra Mystica. Gaming group didn't really like it, so I sold it. I played it a couple times with the solo that was created, third-party creation kind of thing, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. There was a lot of interplay, a lot of synergy, proximity-related kind of benefits. And so Gaia Project, same thing, but you're in space. And not as many, from what I recall, not as many different choices as far as your race goes. And but still a lot in Gaia Project. I mean, there was more than I could think of to choose from. So that's good enough for me. It was such a good game. Such a good game. I have no problems playing this back to back. I mean, every week we try to get the games off our shelf of shame. And so Dave brought this one in. And so you know what? I like it so much that I'm gonna go pick myself up a copy. So you're basically trying to score victory points to be the best empire, be the best system, and expansion, and as I said, all the different factions, races, whatever perspective you want to look at this from. But what you're playing is so asymmetric to what everybody else is playing that to me, I lost. But this was my first time playing. This was Jeff's first time playing, and Dave and Jordan's second time playing. And now Jordan, once Jordan gets the rules in his head, we're talking supercomputer here. So, this is one of those games where even though I suck, I had so much fun discovering the potential that my player board had. Now, this is one of those games where in your head you'd be like, okay, we'll be playing this a few times. If we like it, we'll be playing this a few times. So just sit back and enjoy the experience for me. And Gaia Project, what an awesome experience. And as it says, expand, research, upgrade, and settle the galaxy with one of 14 alien species. So yeah, that's Gaia Project. Now, I popped into Amazing Stories, and they had just gotten in this game, and I was, zoink, thank you. And this is Boone Lake, designed by one of my top. Yeah, I'm enjoying this. I'm Alexander Pfister, and again, published by DLP Games in Europe, but brought into North America by Capstone Games. Take a victory lap. And Boone Lake says, create a new life for yourself in Boone Lake. think of this as escaping the chaos of the urban setting and going into the rural area and developing slowly, quietly. This is, I think when I tweeted it, I said this is a culmination of a lot of very cool mechanisms and concepts from a lot of different games that coalesce into this system that has such a great, interplay, push-pull. It's basically that same trail idea from Great Western Trail or Maracaibo that you're running a circuit. And in this game, there's 2 different circuits because it's you're traveling down water around the islands of Boone Lake area, and add the idea of tiles expansion, add the idea of your forges to your settlements to the cattle. Oh yeah, this is such a really cool. It's civilization builder, but no, it's a hamlet builder in the Boone Lake area. So, I'm having so much fun. Now, here's my only complaint, and it's the same complaint I had for Great Western Trail, and not that it's a complaint, it's a obstacle identifier on my part, right? And because for me, it is interpreting all the graphic semiotics and symbols that represent something, right? The language, the graphic coding language. But like I said, I'm enjoying so many Alexander Pfister games that that understanding of the graphic, and I use the word semiotics, where the idea that an image represents a message kind of thing. And so I'm starting to key up on the vocabulary of his designs, and especially in this game too. I mean, a lot of it. It's one of these things. Once you understand it, then you go, oh well, yeah, that makes sense, right? So it's just that same idea. If you know another language, right? I'm bilingual, so in the summertime when I lose that side of my French, it's sort of like, oh, you just got to get that vocabulary back, and then there we go, and everything's up to speed. So that was my only thing. Now that I'm up to speed, yeah, I'm having fun with this game. Okay, and so yeah, that was Boone Lake, Alexander Pfister, and Capstone Games. So we are at that point where I always love to say thank you so much for listening to what we all have to say about the games that we've been playing recently. And a big, big thank you to the content creators who take the time to put their thoughts down and share with us what they've been playing. And that being said, keep your stick on the ice and take care out there, eh?